Good morning, everyone. Welcome to April's Fool's Day. Today, we're going to be giving $1,000 gift cards to everyone. I'm happy April Fool's Day, everybody. Um, you can tell I don't do this for my day job. I'm definitely not a stand-up comedian. But anyways, welcome everyone. Samalit Hogan from the Small Business Development Center Network. I'm joined today by Dee Dice from Valley Community Development, located in Northampton, and Anita Eliasson, also from the Massachusetts Small Business Development Center Network. Our offices are located in Springfield, Massachusetts, but we cover the entire Valley, Hampden, Hampshire, and Franklin County. And Valley Community Development is located in Northampton, and they do a lot of housing and help a lot of people with housing, but they also have a small business support program out there, which Dee runs for the organization. And today's forum and all of the resource forums are brought to you by a collaboration of small business technical assistance providers located here in the Valley. They are include, move the screen for a second there. They include SCORE, the Center for Women Enterprise, Mass Growth Capital Corporation, Valley Community Development, Common Capital, Franklin County CDC, and of course, the Massachusetts Small Business Development Center networks with offices located at Clark University, Salem State, and at UMass Amherst. And we couldn't bring this programming to you free of charge without the support of our sponsors. And our sponsors are the SBA, the Small Business, the Massachusetts, the state of Massachusetts, UMass Assenberg School of Management, and America's SBDC. And on the screen is the contact information for all these folks who you can connect to ask questions about, your business, get support. We have here like folks from Common Capital who provide, they're a community lender. They're a CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution, and they are mission-based lending. That's what they provide. They have microloans and also other types of loans. And for Springfield, they actually have a loan and grant combo that they're offering right now for businesses located in Springfield. So also the Franklin County Community Development Corporation is home of the Western Mass Food Processing Center, and they provide support to businesses who are looking to start a food-related business. And they also have loans through the USDA. They manage loans through the USDA, and they have managed some COVID-19 related grants also for the rural areas. So has Dee Dice. Her organization is currently managing a regional COVID-19 relief grant for many communities and towns. Dee, do you happen to have the list of all of them? I know Amherst is one of them, and
Sure.
then you have like 9 others.
Sure. The best way to look at that list is to go to our website, valleycdc.com.
Excellent.
And,
if you could put that in the chat for folks,
yeah, sure.
Where they can go and learn more about the regional COVID-19 related grants, because that's still a rolling application that's still ongoing, an opportunity for folks. And I know that was a question. That would be great. The Center for Women Enterprise, we want to let you know, so they not only work with women, they also have the Veterans Outreach Center for those of you out there who know veteran-owned businesses. They can go to cweonline.org and get information on the Veterans Outreach Center. And they also do certifications, private industry certifications for women-owned businesses. Len Gendron's not here with us today yet, but he is representing SCORE in this collaborative, and they have mentors that you can sign up for. So for those of you who are just getting started with your business, you don't have a business plan, you have nothing, you're just getting started. You just came here because you're curious about starting a business. You might want to reach out to a SCORE mentor. You could also reach out to the Massachusetts Small Business Development Center. We work with startups as well as existing businesses. And I heard some of you already have a business plan and are needing help with your financials, with your business financials, right? So absolutely reach out to us. Here's my email. Here's Anita's email. Reach out to us and we'll explain the process to request a free And confidential business advisory session is very simple. We have an online form. It's a request for counseling form that you fill out on our website, and that helps us get you an appointment. That form also serves as your confidentiality agreement, and that's why it's so important, because we're funded by the government, and we're not charging you anything. Obviously, we will want some information from you so we can let them know who we're working with, of course, but everything is confidential. So we don't share anything in our sessions with anyone, not even the SBA. That stays between you and us. But we do grab that demographic information from you. And then who else? Who did I miss? Who did I not mention? I think I mentioned everybody. Okay, excellent. So here's the offices, all the offices for the MSBDC network. In addition to the small business advisory centers, we also have the Massachusetts Export Center, who provides, assistance with export and import of products, and the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers to provide assistance for those businesses who are looking for government contracting. Did you want to add something else?
Yes, I did. I want to make sure that everybody knew that, first of all, we're proud to have this collaborative. We all work in Western Mass. We recently formed this collaborative so that we could share resources and grants. But I want you to know that all these services are free of charge. And so don't hesitate to reach out. I mean, starting a business is a complicated process, and there's things that you should know. And so it's great to have someone on your team that's a business advisor.
Great. And I stand corrected. Len is here. Len is here joining us today from SCORE, and so is Samantha Previer from the Center for Women Enterprise. Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining us. So I'm going to finish up with this will be the link for folks who want to request a one-to-one confidential business advisory appointment with the MSBDC. And Anita, if you don't mind putting that on the chat for them, that'd be great. And that's the end of just our introduction today. And so we're going to move on. We're going to have Dee Dice talk about do a quick presentation about some of the programs, because that's what many of you wanted to hear about today, the grant opportunities and funding that's available for small businesses. Go ahead, Dee.
Great. So I'm going to share my screen, and I've done a little bit of a summary. So can everybody see that okay? Yep, great. So I just want you to know that all these grants that are happening, we feel your pain. It's a lot. It's a lot to digest. Which grant do I apply for? Which one am I eligible for? And there's a lot of them, and it can be complicated. So I've made this little chart which will help summarize things. But I also want you to know that this chart doesn't encompass all of them, and it doesn't encompass everything about the grant. So, and some of these I'm just going to go over quickly because it's not pertaining to you per se. But the first one I'm going to start with is the Payroll Protection Plan, the PPP. And I hope that you've heard of that already. It's a government program to help business owners pay themselves and also keep their employees by paying their payroll. So any business owner can apply, even if you're a sole proprietor. And Sam and Anita, I just want to make sure that, it's a lot of information here. So correct me if I'm wrong on any of these, okay? So they just extended this program, which is great. So now you can apply up to May 31st. You apply through a bank. One method of working with this particular grant is to work with one of the business advisors to fill out the application to make sure you're eligible. And then you go to a bank, preferably the bank you've been with. You want to make sure that they're a participating bank, and then they will help you through the next process of actually applying. In all these grants, you have to be in business by a certain date, and they all are a little bit different. So this is February 15th, 2020. So the payroll protection plan is technically a loan. It's a 1% loan, but it's forgivable if you spend it correctly. So if you spend 60% on payroll, 40% on these items below, then you have to apply for forgiveness. So you have to fill out more forms, and they're trying to make that easier. So it won't quite be such a thing. But then that entire amount will be forgiven. And the calculation is 2.5 times your gross revenue. So and that just switched. So that's a great thing. It's and on the application, I have to say, out of all the grants, that application is pretty self-explanatory. It will tell you, take your gross revenue, divide by 12, so you get the number of months, and then multiply times 2.5. Now, if you've taken a loan or done a couple of other things, it's a little bit different. But that in general, and I didn't know, Sam and Anita, I didn't see that there was a maximum that you could apply for. So right now I have that blank. And I wanted to tell you about, so any of the business advisors that talked here can help you with that. But there's also another program called the Mass Equitable PPP Access Initiative. Don't you love all these names? So that is sponsored by an organization called LISC out of Boston. And you can sign up for free. If you're low income, woman, minority, you can get help directly for that program through signing up on this LISC Boston. And they will actually match you with a bank and really, escort you right through the process. So that's another way of working in this program.
I did put in the chat that the maximum grant amount for the SVOG is $10 million, but they say the eligible applicants may qualify for equal to 45% of the gross earned revenue.
Okay. Oh, that's for the SVOG?
That's for the SVOG, correct.
Oh, okay. So that's the PPP. The SVOG, I'm going to go over very quickly because it doesn't sound like from the chat it includes many of you, but that's called the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. And that's specifically for live venues, for museums, zoos, cinemas. And that, it looks like that's going to, you can apply for that starting April 8th. So that will be coming up soon. It's a federal program. You can pay for payroll, rent, mortgage, a lot of different expenses. And that's the 45% that Samala talked about. So then we have a restaurant.
Please mute yourselves if you're in the background so we don't have, until you have a question. Thank you.
And then we have a restaurant revitalization fund, and that's coming up also. They haven't decided exactly when that's going to happen, but that's about mid-April. And so this is to help out restaurants, but also it can be food trucks, food stands, coffee shops, any food-related business. And it's a federal program also. You have to be in business by March 13th. I'm looking at my cheat sheet over here, so that's why I'm turning my head. And there's also a lot of eligible expenses on that, including mortgage, not just mortgage interest, but mortgage, rent, supplies, food, maintenance. And with that, you need to show that you had a specific loss between gross revenue between 2019 and 2020. So, and then we have a series of local grants, and these grants are administered by Valley Community Development, and you can find all the information right on our website. There's two different types of grants. There's one for the town of Amherst, and one is called a regional grant, which includes East Hampton and Town South. And that's a rolling application. The application is online. You can find it at Valley. And that goes for rent, technology, marketing, business advising. And the calculation on that is showing a loss greater or equal to the amount requested. And so $10,000 is the maximum on that. And then finally, we have the emergency injury disaster loan, also called the EIDL loan. And you can apply to that now. It's a loan, it's not a grant. And it's 3.75%. It's a fixed rate, and really any business can apply for that. So that's a quick summary. And I know a lot of these don't pertain to everybody, so I really wanted to make it quick. But this is the kind of thing that the business advisors can help anybody with. It used to be when business advisors, when business people approach the business advisors, it would be about creating a business plan or looking at a loan. But really recently, we've all had to ramp up and learn about all these different programs. So we recognize that, it's hard to do. And as you can see, they all have different dates in business. Some are forgivable, some aren't, some are too, it's complicated. So, is there anything else we want to talk about before we entertain the questions?
So, Dee, you did have that question on the PPP that I did not answer. I thought you were talking about the SVOG. That's my bad.
Yeah.
But I did put in the chat that the PPP does allow for loan forgiveness for payroll costs, including salary, wages, and tips, for up to $100,000 annualized per employee. And so, I mean, I guess it really, the maximum amount of that loan depends on your payroll, right? And your number of employees, I should say.
Right.
Maximum, which I don't think many folks here will reach, is, I think it was, Anita, do you have that number?
I do not, but it's gigantic.
Yes, exactly. Most of our
millions kind of thing,
they wouldn't get to like that maximum amount. Most of the people we're working with, they're having loans for like maybe like the maximum loans I've seen like 250 or 225 or something, and they have 2, 3, 4 employees or more, and they have big payroll. The employees earn quite a bit. But I did want to show real quick on the screen. And for those folks who are here joining us, I put a bunch of things in the chat for those of you who are looking to start a business, some guidance on that. So we're not going to cover a lot of steps of starting a business, but I did put some information in there. You definitely want to work with a mentor. There's some guidance in the Learning Center at the SBA website. Just real quick, I just wanted to show you too that with the for those of you who have not yet applied for the PPP loan, the deadline was extended until May 30th, correct, guys? Just correct me on that. May 30th. Loans will be processed until that date. And in this slide, you can see, the latest changes that happened with the PPP program, that there's additional organizations that are now eligible, and and then some that are continue to be eligible, like sole proprietors and other partnerships, corporations, LLCs, etc. One thing that was let me see here, important here. So the Paycheck Protection Program right now, they've expanded eligibility. You can use it between 8 and 24 weeks. You can decide which coverage period you want to choose, how you want to spend, how quickly you want to spend the funds. It's the second draw option, obviously only applies to those who already had a PPP loan before. And so you apply for a PPP loan through your bank. I want to mention that too. If you haven't applied for a PPP loan yet, you want to go through a bank, your local bank, your current bank, there first. If they're not offering it for whatever reason, because we know some banks have opted out of offering PPP at this point, then you can go look for another bank, and you can reach out to any of us for guidance, on that. So I'm not going to read this slide. You can see some of the information here. But let's see, what else?
And I also want people to know that with the PPP, I mean, the money does run out. So, I mean, don't wait until the last minute to apply for this. You know, the previous date, they thought the program was going to end March 30th. And some banks actually closed the week before. So people who said, oh, I think I'll wait till March, 29th to apply for the loan, they might have been out of luck. And we don't know, we don't know when the money is going to run out. So, and also it takes a while. You need to get different documents together. You need to have a tax return. You need to have, let's see. I think there's, what's that?
You need a profit and loss.
Yeah, you need your profit and loss. You need some ID. There's just certain things that you need to get together. And so even though the application itself is fairly straightforward, it's a process. I've had different clients who, have a large tax return and they don't have it digitally. So they had to scan it and go to, Staples to get it scanned and put it on their computer, and then they didn't know how to upload it. So anyway, it's a process. So don't wait on that.
Can I just say something? If there's any sole proprietors in the group, right? Think of it this way, when the PPP first came out, they were thinking as a sole proprietor that in essence, what you made was the difference between what you brought into your business and the expenses that went out of the business. So let's say you brought in $50,000, you had $40,000 worth of expenses. In essence, you made $10,000. So they would have divided that by 12, multiplied it by 2.5. That's what they would have given you. Understanding that for sole proprietors, that may not be the true picture and not helpful enough. If you are a Schedule C filer, rather than figuring out how to calculate your PPP based on that equation, now they're just saying, what was your line 7 of your Schedule C? So what was your income? Forget the expenses. What was your income? And they're basing it on that. So now the equation would be that $50,000 divided by 12 and then multiplied by 2.5. So if any of you have not yet applied, kind of be thankful that you have not.
That's the good news, right?
Because they've changed the equation. So now the award is going to be greater than what it would have been in the past. So if you're a sole proprietor and you made no money, it's like, I lost money, or made very little money. It's now based on income, not your bottom line.
Thank you, Anita, very much for explaining that, because, we've had, and also another thing is I've heard from a lot of people that, well, I don't have any employees, so I'm not eligible. Oh, not true at all. If you take money at the end of your year end, if you're the only person in it, you definitely can apply for the PPP.
Right.
And like I said, that Mass Equitable PPP Access Initiative, it's a great place to have someone walk you right through it. But also, all of our business advisors can do that also. So it's really, we're thankful for it. One other thing I wanted to mention is that there have been some other programs called some other grants by Mass Growth Capital Corporation. And one of the criteria for all these grants is that you can't duplicate, it's called duplication of benefits. So if you got a grant from Mass Capital Corp and you're spending it on your rent, you can't take the PPP and spend it on rent also for that exact rent. If you are getting unemployment, you can't take the PPP and get unemployment at the same time. But guess what? You can pause your unemployment, take your PPP amount and spend it within either the 8 or the 24 weeks. You get to choose. And then after that, you can start up on unemployment again. So that's another very common question.
And Dee, you're bringing up the whole concept of strategizing,
Yes, yes.
how this money comes into the business. And I think that before you all apply for this, or as you're thinking about it, that's the benefit of running it kind of up the flagpole, with another set of eyes, because when you get the PPP, you need to use it in 24 weeks. So you've got to really think about it. And another note I have to say, the government in their generosity was saying now they're going to bump up unemployment by $300 a week through September 4th. That's, great news. However, if your benefits run out in July, you're not going to get the $300. Do you understand what I mean? In other words, yes, as long as your benefits are still active through September, you will get a $300 bump up. But let's say you started your unemployment last May, you're now coming up to running out of your unemployment benefits. So your unemployment will stop and the $300 bump up will stop. So you also want to know when your unemployment ends.
Yeah, good point.
Strategize how you could maybe run that program out. Accept the PPP, run the program out, and then you start using the PPP funds. And in all cases too, we recommend that you get a second business bank account to put this money in, so that you can show all the disbursements, so that, should you be that unlucky one who has their records audited, you can show that they were used for the appropriate categories. The PPP is for people. Like, think of it as being like for the people part of the loan. And yes, if you have extra money, you can use it for other things, but it's primarily to stabilize the people in the business. And then the idle loan is to stabilize the business.
I think, you bring up a lot of good points, Anita. I have been telling people, if they get a grant, to open up a separate bank account, definitely with the PPP, but even with the other grants.
Absolutely.
because each grant is, unless you have a more sophisticated bookkeeping system or a bookkeeper who can keep track of these, the easiest way to keep track is put them in a separate bank account. And then if someone wants documentation of that, you copy your bank account sheets, and then you're close to done. So
Great.
So I love this conversation, and I think it sounds, we would love to continue answering if there's any questions on the PPP or these other grants that we mentioned. But we also have quite a few people in the audience today who are concerned, right? Running a business during the pandemic, or starting a business during the pandemic. I wonder what your thoughts are, ladies, when you speak to your clients who are, starting a business now.
Starting a business is always a tricky thing. There's a lot to think about, and there's a lot of details and minutiae to start. Usually when you start a business, you're doing something because you're starting something because it's something that you love. Like, I noticed someone is a baker here. Guess what? I love to bake. I'm starting a business. But most of the time, people don't know the steps of starting a business and the different things that you need to make sure that you do. I believe, don't we have a starting a business forum? Can you remind me of that series?
Yes, I will post it on the chat. We are offering fundamentals of starting a business, and if I can bring up the slides with all of the upcoming webinars, I will do that, because it is what we've noticed is that even for folks that have been in business for many years, they kind of skip some of the fundamental things, or they need a refresher, right? So rather than saying, oh, this is how you start a business, this is not what just starting a business. This is about the fundamental things that you need to know to run a successful business. We're going to be talking, we've already did one, how to turn your hobby into business, that happened last week. And that recording will be available in our YouTube channel next week. But next Tuesdays, every Tuesday at 12:30 p.m., we're having these webinars until May. And next week we're going to talk about insurance. The following weeks, I think we're going to talk about legal issues in business. We're also going to talk about HR issues like hiring, retaining employees, and also how to let go of employees with, covering, any liability issues, and how to manage, conflict in the workplace, as well as to bookkeeping and financials, all of that stuff. And I highly recommend it to everyone, whether you're starting a business or you already have a business, and you're finding that there's gaps, gaps in your skill set that you need to fill in. Because I find that several of my clients are depending on their accountants and their bookkeeper to do all of their financials. But they should really know what, at least how to read those financial statements. They should really know whether or not they're making money and how to make decisions based on the numbers that their accountants or their bookkeepers are calculating for them. And if you don't know that, and if you haven't set yourself a budget in years, if you're not really sure how to, kind of read your statements, then you really want to do that. You really want to educate yourself on that. And we'll have a really great bookkeeper, and Katisha. She also works she also works as a bookkeeper and also consultant, and she'll kind of touch on the business financial statements and bookkeeping and all that. So I'll put it on the chat, and I'll show it on the screen in just a few seconds while you ladies.
And if it's easier as well, next week we have a business basics class that's 2.5 hours, but it goes through all the steps that you would take. That's another possibility. And one of the things we noticed for the grant that Dee's organization is administrating, the regional grant, for example, you have to have a doing business certificate with the town. And we've worked with people that have been in business for 5, 8 years, and they never went to the town to get a business certificate. So, it's not too late. It's not too late to kind of fill in those gaps, but taking the business basics class as well will go through that list of things you should do to maybe create that formality around your business, even if you've been doing it for a long time. So,
right. One of the things I like to tell people that are starting a business is that you want to create your team. So you want to create a group around you that has expertise. And of course, sometimes when you start your business, you don't have enough money to do that. But I'm talking about a team that can lend you support and access to resources, or maybe they know someone who can help you. I mean, I talked to a business client the other day who had been in business 4 or 5 years and still did not have a bookkeeping system. And they were making money, they were doing pretty well, but every time it came to taxes and applying to these grants, they were in trouble. And they just hadn't thought of hiring a bookkeeper. They didn't know how to. They didn't know how to kind of think about it. And so any of the business advisors here can guide you in that direction, what to look for in a bookkeeper. And to Samalit's point, a really good bookkeeper should meet with the client minimum once a month and say, let's review the numbers. Okay, that's kind of a basic. So any of you that have bookkeepers, just start. It's sometimes it's daunting. There's so many numbers. I'm not sure what they all mean. Just start. Every month you have a regular meeting and you knock off a few different things. So.
And to that point as well, the thing about it is you shouldn't have to be thinking about, am I going to work with Valley Community Development or the MSBDC or SCORE? Call upon all of us, and we all work in conjunction. I have a client that, Dee and I work together with, and I have another one that I work with Len together. So we can provide those advisory board positions for the time being. And then over time, you'll replace us, with people as you meet more people and establish yourselves. But for now, you're looking for eyes and ears on your business. And someone put in that the class was full. That's our Thursday class next week. And if you just want to send me your information, we'll get you into that class. So don't be concerned about that.
Yes, I was wondering if she meant the fundamentals of starting a business, or if
No,
she
I think
meant
it's a
the
business basics
Tuesday
class.
class.
Right. I know the Monday one was full and the Thursday one was coming up, but the Thursday one is the one that I'll be doing, and I'm more than happy to expand that so we can have we can have you there, because that's next week,
Sure.
right? And that's the thing. We want to kind of get the information as quickly as we can get it so we can start digesting it and putting it into action.
Right. Right. So at this time, again, we wanted to make these business forums very interactive. So if you still have questions, things that we haven't touched on today that you really want to know about, please put them in the chat so we can address them.
So
Otherwise,
Sue,
we
I
just keep
see that,
talking in general
I,
about things
no,
that
I
we
see
think you might be interested in.
yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
see there's a question about a local bank that will do the PPP application.
Mhm.
So as far as I know, Greenfield Savings, Florence Bank,
Citizens Bank,
Citizen.
PSB.
Yep. And it's great to
People's
go to
Bank.
the bank. It's great to go to the bank that you've been working with. Hopefully you have a relationship with that bank. So I would suggest going to them first. But those banks that we just listed will accept that first. And you can look at the application online, and look at the questions. Some of the banks have specific applications. So I think it's worth it to look at the application and get prepared, but you don't necessarily have to fill it out. Talk to your banker first.
And Dee, I appreciate the organization that somebody has to have around it. But I can say that I had 2 people apply last Tuesday for the PPP, and this is the new sole proprietor using that income level.
Uh-huh.
And it took them no more than 20 minutes to apply. And one was funded yesterday, and I got a text that one was funded
That's
today.
great.
So the money is coming quickly, and they've
Right.
made it easy. And the whole thing about uploading and all that, uploading, downloading, really, that was a bit much. Now they have you sign a form that says, you can go to the IRS yourself and look at our tax returns, so you don't have to upload a form anymore. You're just signing the form that says, yeah, you can go to the IRS and look at my taxes. Your taxes will only be looked at to be sure that it matches the information you gave. That will not be an ongoing one branch of the government will always be looking at. They're just going to check, make sure it checks out, and then that's the end of their.
So that's new, right, Anita?
Yeah.
Wow, great. See, things change fast around here.
That was March 18th, right?
Yeah.
Because March 17th, someone went to apply and they had made hardly any money, like $10,000 in the year. And the very next day, they qualified for that $50,000 number. That was the real example. So it was a huge difference in the amount they got. Huge.
Mm-hmm. Anita, there is someone in the chat that wants to sign up for the class next week, for the basics of starting a business class. She put it on the chat, her email there. And I'm curious, ladies. So we're on, what are we on, phase 2 of the vaccination, right? Schedule for COVID here in Massachusetts. Phase 3 is coming up soon. I think it's individuals 55 and older with one condition. And then phase 3 is like April 18th or like somewhere late April, where is the general population will be able to get vaccinated. And, I'm really wondering, how are you finding your clients and other business owners kind of getting ready for, I feel, honestly, I can't wait to get out of my home. So I'm going to go to restaurants. I'm going to go shopping. I'm going to do, so I can only imagine businesses are going to start seeing an influx of customers just bursting through their door in the next couple of months, or at least I'm hoping that.
I was just going to say,
everybody's talking about like people getting used to this new normal of doing everything at home and everything like that, but I can't wait to get out of my home.
Yes, I think we're all hoping. And, as always, if you're a small business owner, you are taking a risk. Do I buy more inventory because I think it's going to be busy?
Yeah.
Or is it still going to be slow? Are people, and so it's really hard to predict. And that's what you do as a small business owner. Your industry, and you're taking a guess based on all of your knowledge. So I agree with you, Sam. I'm kind of happy to be a little more out and about. And so I know that the garden centers, because I was just at a garden center, they are really preparing big time. They are, I mean, I used to be in the garden center business, and springtime's you're 150% on all the time. But I think this year is going to be a record year.
Right. And we're hearing business owners having challenges. And I'm curious, for those of you here who have been in business 5 years or more, because I saw that in the poll, are you having any challenges with staffing, with bringing back employees or keeping employees on board because of, well, the unemployment benefits, or maybe they're having family situations, right? Maybe it hasn't nothing to do with the money. It's more like they have family situations that have your employees having to stay home longer because maybe they have kids going remotely, doing school remote, or maybe they have family members who are ill. So I wonder if some of the folks here have, what have been your experiences, or what you've been able to, work out with your employees. I know that many employers have had the foresight of being flexible enough to keep the employees on board, using the PPP to, pay them while they're maybe still at home, but they're using the PPP to pay them to keep them on board so that they don't leave, they don't go on unemployment, and they don't just leave the workplace, because you want to retain them. But I know other folks have just had to say, I'm closing my doors, I'm sort of laying everybody off, and then, we'll reopen when we're able to. So I'm just curious to see, if folks here, how they've been able to, what strategies you've used, and if you're having a hard time finding employees, and maybe what are you guys advising your clients that are going through that situation where they're having a hard time bringing people back.
Before you answer that, I just wanted to recognize that we have about 10 minutes left. So please put your questions in the chat.
I know everybody's so quiet, so I'm just making
really.
Yeah, it's quiet. And Sam, while we get some answers to that reopening question and employees, I just want to say one thing. We had a wonderful, wonderful event yesterday, which was the Western Massachusetts kind of the SBA Women in Business Conference. It was really great. It was excellent. But a couple of people in the beginning asked about grants or starting money, money to for startup. And we heard a wonderful person speak named Kate Anderson, and she runs an organization called I Fund Women, IFUND Women. And all they do is fund women business owners. And she did talk about the fact that they just got little packet of money there from Neutrogena, who is giving out $10,000. And I know that Sarah Blakely, who developed Spanx, she does a $5,000 grant for startup women businesses. And I'd love to put these in. I'm having a computer challenge. As soon as I go
I'll put it on. I'll put it on, Anita.
It bumps me off the visual, so I can't do it. But anyway, that's the scoop on that. So there is grant money available to start. The grant money that we all administer and help people get is really for established businesses because it's COVID-19 related. I Fund Women, though, if you happen to be a woman, is more money to just get women out there developing their dream into an actual business. So it's not as COVID related. So it has a little more money for startups. The grants we're talking about that Dee mentioned, they're for people who are in business and were, prior to the pandemic. So just to let you know.
What was the other one, Anita, besides the I Fund Women?
Sarah Blakely, if you go on the Spanx website or you just look up Sarah Blakely, got one, and she's got one. It's a backpack grant, and it's $500, and it comes with a red backpack, because she passionately tells the story about how there was a point in time that the difference between her staying in business and having to pack it in literally was $500. It came down to $500, and she happened to keep all her business plans in a red backpack. So she hands those out very liberally to just people, just to give them a little bit of money, to help them get a basic website or something, But also her organization foundation has larger grants as well. Just so you know.
I wanted to respond to Christine's question about the shuttered venue grant for a conservation business. So that's a little bit of a question mark. If the conservation business has programming, and let me just say, I'm not the person who is going to make a decision, but I'm giving you some feedback based on what I know about the program. And so if that conservation business has a component to the business that includes taking people on walks or doing tours or doing some kind of outreach where the public is involved, then my guess is it would be involved. If it's strictly a conservation business that has to do with conservation only and doesn't have a people component to it, then my guess is no. But you might want to go to the Shuttered Venue website and kind of look at that a little bit more. And, I'd be happy to talk to you about that further. If
Sam just put that in the chat. So that would be full eligibility. But again, they've expanded that even over the last couple of weeks as to what the acceptable businesses are that can apply for that. But just to note, if you apply for the SVOG, you cannot have that grant and the restaurant grant. So there may be someone on the call who runs an event venue that also serves food, beverages, and so forth. And what they said last week is that it's going to boil down to your EIN number, your employee identification number, and what you declare your business entity is. So when we fill out our tax forms, it says, what is your, what business are you in? If you are a performance venue, then it would be the SVOG. So it depends whether you're a performance venue that serves food and drinks, or whether you're food and drinks that also has performance, as to how you define yourself on your tax returns, just so you know.
Right.
Thank you, ladies. So I did put on the chat, the link to the SVOG eligibility requirements. Someone else asked, how do I get in touch with an advisor who can help me? I put in the link to the request for counseling form for the MSPDC.
Yeah.
I had also, prior to that, put in the link for to request a mentor from SCORE if some folks are looking for that kind of assistance instead. And Kate Putnam from Golden Seeds was also at the Women in Business conference yesterday. I put in her information on the chat as well. That's another organization that helps support women-owned businesses. So let's see. So someone here is saying she runs a web design company. Do I qualify for a grant? Well, that depends, right? That depends on where you're located. In the Valley, there was a few months ago, back in, November, December, January timeframe, a statewide grant for small businesses that was run through the Massachusetts Growth Capital Corporation, over $600 million. $650 million in grants were awarded. But at this point in time, you have to look to your city or town. Also, the PPP, even though it is a loan first, it can become a grant and forgiven. Should you use it, should you follow the directions on how to use it so you can be 100% forgiven. So people think of it like, PPP is a loan, I don't want any loans. But guess what? If you get the PPP and you use it for payroll, it can be 100% forgiven. You fill out another form and you get it forgiven, so then it becomes a grant
And
as
Sam,
well.
I just want to list those towns that is the program that D, just in case people
Yeah, I
want.
also put them on the chat, but go ahead and list them, please.
Oh, good. East Hampton, Granby, Hadley, Hatfield, Southampton, South Hadley, and West Hampton.
In Amherst.
Right,
Yeah.
that's for the regional grant. And then there's the Amherst grant. And we also know that there's a grant in Greenfield, and there's one for Shelburne Falls. The Greenfield one is on the town website, and the Shelburne Falls one is on the I want to call it the chamber. Yeah, I guess the Shelburne Chamber of Commerce. It's on their website. So definitely, even if you're in a town that is not one of those that we listed, if you go to your own town's website, there's very often money as well. And if you're in East Hampton, they are part of this regional grant, but there is also additional money that the town has for people reopening safely with social distancing and outdoor dining and some other money that they've pulled from different sources. So check with your local town to see what you're doing.
And then,
And I also
Common
just
Capital has the Springfield COVID-19
right.
grant.
Right.
So for those of you who are in Springfield, I just put in the chat the link to the City of Springfield's website page that talks about that small business, that COVID-19 loan grant that's through Common Capital.
Great. And Valley has a new contact form. It's certainly on our website, very prominent, but I also put it in here also. So, and we have two new business consultants who are both very experienced, and you know, we're happy to help. And I think I can say this for almost all of the technical assistance programs, is that, you know, because we've had a lot of requests, we've all done a little bit more hiring. And so people say to me all the time, oh, you must be swamped, you must be swamped. Well, yes, we're busy, but we also have hired additional people. We have, you know, this is our job. We're ready for you. So.
Well, thanks everybody for being here today. I will, one last thing I wanted to put on the chat, because we didn't really end up talking about the whole employment thing and, you know, finding employees, but MassHire, so the state program, they have career centers all over Massachusetts. And so I'm going to put the one that's closest to us here in Springfield. I'll put the link on the chat. But what I'm advising those business owners who are needing to get ready for, you know, reopening or at a grander, because maybe you're already open, but you might be open at limited hours, and you lost some employees, and you don't know if they're coming back, and you needing to hire more people. Reach out to the MassHire Career Center. Go on their website. They have they can post your job for free on their website, and if you want to help vetting employees, interviewing, and all other slew of services that they offer, you pay a fee for that. But it to me, it sounds like it's fairly affordable way to find qualified people to help you with your business.
Mm-hmm. So, and someone's looking for where they can find this recording, Sam, on YouTube.
Oh yes, you know, so I'll put in the just give me 1 second. I'll put in the chat the link to our YouTube page. Let's see here.
And Dee, what about that great chart?
Oh yes,
we love your chart. We want your chart.
I will get that chart to Sam, and then she can post it on our channel.
That's great.
Right, and we can put it on our organization now. We've officially have a name and a website. It's called the Western Mass Means Business, WMMB. So we are just starting. There we go. And we'll be putting information there also. It's a great, just general resource, you know, all the different webinars will be posted there and different resources. So spread the word, and also know that, the first Thursday in May, we'll be doing this again. But it's really important to get on a few mailing lists, because, Valley sends out a business newsletter, the MSBDC sends out 1, 2, 3 newsletters, SCORE does, and that's how you keep informed. And also, for these new grants, the SBA.gov website is a great website, so that you're getting current information, because you don't want to miss something that you're eligible for.
Great.
So we're here to help.
Well, thank you, everyone. We hope to see you again next month. Again, we're hosting these business forums the first Thursday of the month, and at least until June. And we love to answer your questions. We're going to be sending you all a quick survey in the next couple of weeks to find out any questions that you have that we want to address in the next business forum. Thanks again for coming today. Thank you, Dee, and thank you, Nita, for helping
today.
Thank
you.
Have a wonderful day, and happy Easter and Passover and all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye.